Using Clay is actually pretty easy. While watching the Clay dashboard can seem intimidating with all the flows, API, webhooks and integration, if you watch this video, you can become a Clay expert in the next 30 days. In this video, I'm going to show you how to learn Clay fast and without using any Clay credits. Let's try to understand what does exactly mean scale Clay flows, Clay table without Clay credits. Just a very simple example. If I create a new table, and by the way, this is a very cool way to import new data. There's a find companies, as you can see. Let's try to use the find companies, or even better, let's try, for the sake of this video, just to try to find people, job title, let's say owners, so CEOs, founders, a mix of job titles. Let's put location United States, just an example. Let's see. Okay, cool. Now we have, you see all the information, first name, last name, LinkedIn profile, and let's say that we want to run a campaign and we want to scale it without using Clay credits. A very interesting integration is the HeyReach people, because maybe we want more information from LinkedIn, and in our outreach we really want to say something like, hey, I noticed you are in that kind of LinkedIn group, or you have that kind of interest, or that kind of shared connection. And we can do that in the normal way, which is actions, add column, enrichment, person from profile. As an input, the LinkedIn profile is enough, but as you can see, you need to use one Clay credit. It's not the end of the world, but if you really want to scale, it's very expensive, but we got a lot of interesting information. Summary, education, publications, recommendation, shared connections. In this case, how would I scale this in the same way but without using credits? Is of course using my own brain and try to understand what are other APIs to scale without credits. And in this case, there's an interesting API called Lead Magic that can really scrape any kind of LinkedIn information, is extremely cheap, and we don't really need any kind of Clay credits. What we need to do is add enrichment. Right now we need to use the HTTP integration, but you can save your own template. As you see, I have a lot of templates. Lead Magic, LinkedIn profile. Again, input LinkedIn profile, use template, and let's try to see what happens. Lead Magic is a normal integration you can find for verifier email, enrich email, and a lot of other things, but for LinkedIn scraping you need the HTTP API because the official integration is still not ready. But as you can see, exactly the same information are scraped from Lead Magic, but this time using exactly 0 credits. Let's start with this very simple example where we can actually leverage Clay to create a very good theme list. I would say that 50% of the times is enough to scrape on LinkedIn. It's not always the case, but most of the time. And in this case, it's very efficient to do so on Clay. Just enough to create a new table, find companies. This is totally credit free, so you won't consume any credits. And as we will see, it's totally different than doing so in any other kind of providers like Apollo or the others. Let's say we want to prospect into a very popular niche like marketing agencies. Let's say we want to say 11 to 200 employees. I suggest not to put industry because it's really broad. Sometimes agencies can be listed with different keywords, but there's a very interesting feature called include description keywords, and this is directly from the LinkedIn description, which is something very tough to have at scale. Apollo, for example, scrape from SEO description, which is most of the time very broken, and we can put something like agency or marketing preview companies, and we will get a very solid list of companies. Import to a new table, continue for free. As you can see, 0 cost, and we have a very solid list. Actually, it's not that solid, and here really start the difference between Clay and any other providers, because this is very generic. In 2024, we can just say we want to prospect into marketing agencies. There are branding agencies, advertising agencies. Maybe we are selling a tool like a B2B SaaS that helps agencies in running better Facebook ads. And if we really want to create an efficient campaign, it's not really enough just to create something like prospecting into very generic marketing agencies. We really really just want to prospect into agencies that are running Facebook ads. How can we do that? Well, in this case, it's enough to auto enrichment. We use Clay Agent, which is a live version basically of the ChatGPT, who can actually run and scrape the web. You can really ask open questions, something like visit the company website, and you put the domain, the website as an input, and check if this agency is offering Facebook ads or Meta ads services. Just reply yes or no. We can choose a model. It's enough for the 3.5. Always suggest to put cost maximum at that, and you can format the answers. In this case, it's enough yes and no. Okay, we really don't want to consume Clay credits, so we can use our own API. Save and run 10 rows. And here's the magic actually happens, because we are getting an extremely good list of marketing agencies running Facebook ads. This is something that is very good. It's very kind of impossible to have actually with other external providers. Okay, we just ran the Clay Agent integration, and as you can see, the Clay Agent is going into the website trying to check whether or not they are running Facebook ads. It is pretty accurate, to be honest, and always double check maybe the first results, but in this way you could have an extremely accurate list. Then you can simply filter for no or yes as an answer, get the list of URLs, and pass to the next step, which is using the URLs to find people at company. But in this way you can create a bulletproof list with just few seconds. Let's see another interesting example in using Clay to map the theme. Again, we have to think about what is the best piece of data or the best data provider available on the web to actually get the list of all the companies' URLs. Let's say we are prospecting into local businesses such as doctors, such as pharmacies, such as any kind of thing that is local, even restaurants. Let's take restaurants, for example. It's impossible to find them on Apollo. They really have no incentive in being on LinkedIn, actually. Their business is totally unrelated to B2B sales. And what is the best way in this case? The best way is by far Google Maps. Most of the time where you can't find data on LinkedIn, you can find them on Google Maps or in other niche providers. You have to know by experience or searching the web. But how can we do this on Clay? In this case, it's really enough to do table, and again, the example before we started from companies. In this case, find local businesses using Google Maps. We can click on the Google Maps integration. We can put your area, let's say New York. Let's say free text, number of results, let's say 25, new blank table, and in just a couple of seconds we finally have our list of restaurants, which is a very interesting list because we have a very interesting piece of data such as, okay, the name of the restaurant, the Google Maps URL, which can be useful later because it can scrape other information and use it to create relevant prospecting campaigns at scale. Then we have the description, we have the website, which is very interesting again because maybe we can find the email on the footer, and by the fact that they are small businesses, if you just email the email on the footer, the owner, most of the cases, will actually answer and read that email. You have the phone, which again is probably handled by the owner, especially maybe if you don't call like during the night when they are just receiving reservations. You have the address, you have the rating, and you have the review count. Any kind of very interesting values we can actually leverage to create very powerful prospecting campaigns. One only thing that I really don't like here is that, first of all, if you use, and this is of course is a bottleneck if you do the things in practice, if you're trying to use the Google Maps integration in this way, you see that we just use 25 credits only for 25 rows. This is not acceptable, of course, because if we want to really create a high volume outreach campaign with 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 of restaurants, you can't really do this in this way because you will go bankrupt using those credits. But there are other alternatives. This is just the basis, but if instead starting from this integration, you just open your eyes and use other external APIs, or in this case, a data provider like Scrap.io, with just $100, you can really scrape a lot of data, like tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. Just format the list, import here again on your clay table, and again just continue doing your own clay table. But in this way, with a little trick, we just overcome the bottlenecks and we can scale in a very cheap way without credit to very, very high volume. Let's jump to another example with e-commerce. StoreLeads, very interesting provider, and I think it has the best e-commerce data on the planet. It's really interesting because you have an API too, you can connect to Clay, and you can filter by technology, you can filter by category, you can do a lot of things, and if you pay a fixed pricing, then you have like unlimited requests per day. Not really unlimited, but it's not directly proportional to how much you are spending, so it's really, really interesting. In our case, what we can do is, again, create new table, and we already have the integration, by the way. Always, of course, is suggesting to use Clay credits, but of course they are super expensive, we don't really want to do so, and we can add our API. Continue, query. I don't really suggest to put a query because it's better to have a larger list first and then use Clay Agent or other scrapers to actually go more in depth. E-commerce platform is very good for this. I know the niche really, really well, so I can talk by experience and I really know what's going on inside the platform. Let's say we are selling something to Shopify owner, Shopify e-commerce owner, basically. Technology, again, don't really put technology, only Crunchbase is good at it. Country is a very good filter. Let's say United States. Number of results, let's start with 50. But again, e-commerces in the United States are like hundreds of thousands. So pay attention on what you do, because if you do that with just Clay credits, you will spend a fortune, thousands of dollars. In this way, you just pay, I think, $200 one time, and that's it. Continue, new blank table, and here you have our fantastic list of e-commerces, starting by domain. Then, when you have the domain, everything will become really, really easy. You can find the people, you can get information, and everything will go in the right direction. Again, it's about building blocks. Let's start for the first one, map the theme. Checking here, we have a lot of data. We have the URL, we have the plan. Even the plan is very interesting, because maybe we are selling a tool that is complementary to Shopify and allow Shopify owners to actually do something the Shopify Plus won't allow you to do. So you know it's very complementary to the plan. Maybe you have some other very interesting data. You know the average price of the e-commerce. Maybe you are selling something only for very high ticket items. You have the category, you have the language, the estimated sales, which is pretty accurate, while it's not really accurate right now, the estimated visits. You have the average price for month. So everything that is kind of interesting to use in your own prospecting. Let's talk for a moment about the find people at company problem, because it is something that you are maybe not aware of, but is probably where 99% of people actually get stuck on Clay. The fact is this: let's say we successfully completed level 1, which is mapping the theme, and again having a very, very accurate list of URLs. At this point, maybe you can be tempted in saying something like, okay, let's try the generic find people, is at the blue button on the upper right corner on Clay, and yeah, it works. But the problem, you can put job title and you start scraping from the list of domain that you have here. The problem is Clay is very good in finding companies. It's really, really bad in finding people, because right now the Clay scraper into LinkedIn only find open profiles. This means that if you're looking for marketing manager at apple.com, maybe there are 10 different marketing managers at Apple, and you will only get one. We only get 1/10 or 2/10 or 3/10 of the actual total addressable market. And this is, of course, is a problem, because if you're an advertiser, if you are an outbound pro, you're running cold emails, you want the list as big as possible, you can really burn your list that much. And that's why you need the external resources from Clay to actually get the right information. In this case, the right people starting from the right list of URLs. And again, it's really using your brain, your experience, to actually understand what is the right piece of software, what is the right piece of data, what is the right API to get what you want, in this case, people. We said that the Clay one isn't working. An alternative could be like the Apollo API, which is
is this basically. Follow, find people at company. But again, this is a problem since it's very accurate actually. To be honest, it's really accurate. But to use the API effectively, you need a 5K per year plan, which is very expensive. And again, it's not that scalable. You have a very, very limited number of requests per day and per hour and per minute, which will become very annoying after a while. And a trick that I found that really works well is this. Level 1, map the list of URLs. Then copy the list of URLs. Go to Apollo, then go on search. You see there's a way to put copy and paste the URLs here. In particular, in include, exclude list of companies. Copy and paste, save and search. And as you can see, you will get all the decision makers. Of course, refine the list, put in the right job titles, but at this point, don't really think that you can export everything from Apollo with the paid plan because it's very expensive. Taking data outside Apollo is very, very expensive. But there's a trick here. It's enough to copy and paste the URL of the open search and use Scraper, a tool that is called exportapollo.com. And it's enough to copy and paste the list here, put a generic name, and as you can see, we want to scrape 1,000 people with just $5, we can get the list. And even if the list is very big, like 25k people, it would be something like 25, 30, 40. But this is a really nice trick to actually scale outbound in a cheap way, regardless of the volume and of the dimension of the list. You can pay and scrape and you will receive an email like this. It's enough to click on the attachment and you will get the full list of people. You can copy everything and put it into another clay table where you can start your own enrichment, AI personalization, and start sending emails. So just to sum up, what is the best way right now, the cheapest way? Copy the list of URLs, go to Apollo, put the filter, put the URLs here, put the filter, save and search, get the final URL, go to export Apollo, copy and paste the search, pay and scrape, get the attachment here, that's it. There are other ways actually. This is very efficient, that is the cheapest ever, but of course you need like a couple of minutes to go outside of clay, get the data and get back again. It's not the end of the world, it's really efficient. Okay, let's have an example of the email waterfall enrichment, but in general about the data enrichment, because it's not just all about emails. Okay, we started from mapping the theme, we get the list of people, in this case we have name, surname and domain, and we really want the email address. And why just using one email validation provider? Because there are a lot on the market, we really want to maximize the number of emails that we have so that we can get the best possible results for our client while not spending a fortune on credits, on clay and the other data sources. And what we can really do is, first of all, of course, to enrich the email, you need full name and company domain. This is the minimum requirement for the email. Then I suggest to do other enrichment. It's enough to type email that you get work email. And as you can see, there's a list of all the possible providers on clay. You can even connect other ones from here to actually validate the email. What I really suggest is buy one of those providers. I suggest in this case I really like LeadMagic, because with LeadMagic you can do a lot of things, not just email. Put it at the really top of the waterfall because it will absorb the majority of the emails, so it would be extremely cheap. We can't buy all the APIs, but let's put this first. Let's buy the API of this one and put the full name as an input, company domain as an input. And in this way, of course, we can scale without credits, and the very few emails that when we got by LeadMagic, we really don't want to lose them. We will use credits for the other, but just for a very limited number of emails, just to maximize our list. Save and run 10 rows. And here we have with the list of our emails. As you can see, the majority are found by the first one, and we are spending nothing. If the email is not found on the first, we have the second, the third, and the fifth. But of course, by the fact that we have the API, we are not spending that much, and the majority of the emails will be free for us, apart from the cost of this API, which is very, very cheap. And in the end, we got the final email. As you can see, the accuracy is pretty awesome in general. Then we have to verify the email, and again, we can send the emails through the providers. Another thing that I suggest is actually the same, is phone numbers. Again, find enrichment, add enrichment, mobile phone number. You have a list, you can put LeadMagic as first as you want. You have other providers here. Forger is amazing. In this case, the input is the LinkedIn profile. Save, run 10 rows, and in the same method as email, we will get a very accurate list of phone numbers. Again, the accuracy is really high. This is not company numbers. This is phone, mobile numbers. If I call them, they get a call from their phone, or at least is the company personal number. But most of the cases, especially Forger, is really the personal number. So this is really a killer in combination with a good call caller and a power dialer. Okay, let's see how level 3 actually works and be really sure that you mapped an incredible TAM list, the list of URLs. Make sure that you really use the right find people at company feature and having reached the proper way all your leads, trying to maximize the number of emails, phone numbers, or any contact in general possible. Okay, right now, just an example, because let's say we have first, second name, email, company domain, and URL. Okay, we can find the email, but we want to add some personalization. Let's make real world example. A client of mine is selling to game development studios, so basically those studios that actually create very famous video games online like Call of Duty, and they're all selling basically an outsourcing service. And what we really want to do right now is add some AI personalization with a very good offer, with a very good call to action. And with just the URLs, if we go, for example, in one of those URLs, we can actually get the projects they really work. So it seems that we made the research and checked URL by URL, and we say something like, hey, I noticed that you develop incredible world famous and popular game like Call of Duty or any other kind of game in our copy. So we will create a very relevant copy at scale, in this case using the Clay agent. As we can see, it is enough to add enrichment. Again, it's enough to use the Clay agent. Clay agent is just an example because in this case it's really relevant, and I know that I can be relevant through the Clay agent, but can be reviews, can be any kind of open data, can really be anything. But in this case, it's really helpful to use the Clay agent and say something like visit the website, and we put as input the website, the URLs, and find 2 projects, or even better, 2 game projects they work on. Just return the names of the 2 projects separated by an end. Save, run 10 rows. Let's see how the results will show off. Maybe we have to do some further fine-tuning, but I'm really curious about the end result. We always have to test because the AI is not always 100% perfect, but in this case it's actually pretty good. And Sea of Thieves, very good actually, very good personalization. Okay, now we have like name, surname, we have the others, we have company, name, URLs, the game projects, and we are basically ready to send our emails. What we can do is connect our sending platform. My favorite email tool is Smart Lead. I use it, it's years I'm using it, and it really works for deliverabilities like world class. It's enough to connect the API, then you can input everything from Clay. You don't really have to export, download, re-upload to Smart Lead, use VAs to make everything. There are always errors, it takes time, it's confusing. With Clay, you just connect everything, you create a system, you press start. If everything works, you just scale all the rows, and that's it. The power at which you can launch new campaigns and super sophisticated campaigns is just incredible. You can really do the work that it will take like weeks or team of VAs in just a couple of clicks if you are really fast and proficient like I am. Of course, it takes experience, and of course you need to really practice to get to this level. So in this case, email, first name, we would have the first name. Of course, this is an example. I didn't really want to show other first name and second name and email address, but in this case it's just of course an example. Company name, and in this case custom fields. We really need the custom fields because we want to include projects, and here we want to add project as a variable. So we added this piece of copy to our campaign. We connect the right campaign and we are ready to send. The end result would be something like this. You see, hello first name, I was on a company name website, noticed that you have developed projects like first name of the project, second name of the project, so that we can create a very relevant personalization. That's why I put them divided divided by an end, because you always have to start with the copy in mind to actually build the list. Actually, the list dictates the copy, but you, in this case, you can't write the copy before having the list because the personalization there, and you have to have that kind of personalization before. And now we are ready to send. The end result would be something like this. And the script that I use in general, most of the time, very similar. I just personalize the opener. I just create a test, a very good value proposition, because it's what really changed the end result, the positive replies. Anything else that you really want to test, all the fancy stuff, they are fancy, but most of the time don't really move the needle. I just really suggest to personalize something strong in the first line, even better if it is relevant with the value proposition. Create a couple of very good value proposition and a soft call to action. And that's it. Here's how you can create very relevant copy starting from your list in very few minutes, spending very little credits thanks to the use of APIs.
And this is how you can learn to use Clay quickly and with 0 Clay credits. If you want my exact playbook on how to scale Clay and to become a Clay expert way faster, you can check my full playbook in the description below. It's a culmination of my years of experiences on Clay, so that you can actually jump and overcome the bottlenecks way quicker and access my list of secret APIs so that you can scale the platform without any problems and without using Clay credits. YouTube thinks that you should watch this video too, and let's give it a try. Maybe it's right. I will see you in the next one.